Hello, my name's Andrew, and I am going to be delivering the presentation today on recognising neurodiversity, leadership effectiveness with majority colleagues, and obviously this is January 2025. So just by way of introduction, who am I? So obviously I've just said my name's Andrew and I'm a neurodivergent assistive technology trainer. So I work with neurodivergent and disabled adults within the university setting, providing assistive technology training on a range of applications that is funded by the government. I'm currently studying an MSc in Educational Assistive Technology part-time via the University of Dundee online, and it's going very well. And dyslexia was actually mentioned in today's lecture. And I'm also an advocate for neurodivergent adults. So I've been going to the WFDA meetups online for a number of years. And I also run a very small Essex-based group that meets every couple of months on a Saturday for coffee and a chat. So I'm going to move on to the third slide. So why are neurodivergent people good leaders? Well, there are a number of reasons why we are good leaders. And the first example, which I've obtained from Fast Company, and I will click on that link in a moment. So just to explain, so neurodivergent individuals who are traditionally labelled as poor fit are likely to bring original thinking and honesty to help leadership teams think more carefully, objectively, and creatively, enhancing the competitive advantage. And so how is this actually received by majority colleagues? Well, neurodivergent people are often the ones who will advocate for other people. They're the ones who have very good organizational skills. And this strategy here, which I am just going to copy and paste so you can see this, and I'm trusting Microsoft Edge to still not have the StudyTech app on. And so this here, and the fact that Ludmila Prasilova has actually written a very recent article, so from 2021, and she's highlighting the fact that we have very good examples of strengths. And, many leaders, such as we've got Richard Branson, who is obviously a dyslexia example of a leader. We've got Elon Musk, who's on the autism spectrum, and there are a lot of people I know in the autism community who are not so much fans of him. However, Richard Branson has developed a company that is very well renowned, and he has organized his shops and his phone company before the O2 takeover were really good at actually working as part of a team and delivering excellent service. I was a customer for many years. I am also going to look through this bit here about this ableist assumption, and actually neurodivergent people can do many jobs. So which jobs are suitable for autistic or other neurodivergent people? An ableist assumption is that people can't do things. Well, actually the reverse is true. Many of us have a range of talents and abilities, meaning that there is a full range of jobs available, and some that never existed until neurodivergent people created them. So one such example, and I will go back onto the slides, is that when the DSA relaunched back in February last year, we have deliberately employed many disabled people to become trainers and to work within our team. Many of us have got lived experience of using the assistive technology. So I've been using some now for over 20 years. And why does this lead into leadership? Well, because I can lead the team through how the technology can go through. I'm often asked various questions by the team. If someone is new to study tech, for example, I will guide them through a tailored training program so that they are able to fulfill their role. And I'm approachable, and I will come on to that. And also neuro-minority people do actually learn from other people and can aspire to their skills. The next slide. So we have got here a case study of JP Morgan Chase. So they launched their Autism at Work program in 2015. It started as a 5-person pilot program that saw remarkable success. Within 6 months, these first neurodiverse employees demonstrated 48% higher productivity than their neurotypical peers who had been at the company for 3 to 10 years. So in terms of why would that buy-in from neurotypical people is that an autistic person, for example, who has had the ability to demonstrate their commitment to an organization would be able to progress within a role and would be able to focus on their strengths. And this has a very high rate. So you've got 48% who are working at a higher productivity rate. So that means, they're going to be very efficient employees. They're going to have the knowledge. They're going to be able to convey what they know. And, they will be able to advocate or mentor other people in that process. So I'm going to move on to the fifth slide. And also this is very much about developing leadership skills in a safe space. So often neurodivergent leaders have strengths from direct, clear and honest communication and creative picture thinking that leverage our own distinctive styles in their role. So Psychology Today, and I will copy that and we will see the link in a moment, are a very well-known academic source that we use with psychology students and those who are studying associated courses such as on a mental health course. And, they're focused here on the ability to see things in a different perspective. So I'm just going to copy this across. We're not going to go through every single link, but I did specifically want to demonstrate this because I am a fan of the website. So in here,
Andrew, we're not seeing the link.
you can not see. Okay. If I go back, if I stop the share and then if I press share, entire screen and then press share. You should be able to see it now.
Yeah, we can see it.
That's what yeah. So in here, so it's mentioning about how managers are neurodivergent and being able to support people in the organization, people who think differently, and managers who are neurodivergent would be the ones who would be best to support and advocate for the neurodivergent colleagues. So here, we have a 70% engagement, so 3/4, and the impact on mental health. If someone has an understanding and can relate to other people, that is good. In here, in terms of they're mentioning here, well, why sometimes are people overlooked? Accessing a diagnosis. So someone may be struggling, but they have got their own way of thinking. But here it's mentioning as it goes on, here about, for a greater degree, a manager at a tech company giving an unusual empathy. So people are not necessarily going to be kind of deficit driven. And why is that important for neurotypical people? Because they want to see the social model of disability being conveyed. And this article is quite lengthy. We won't have time to go through it all. Here, it's about having no ableist limits on what a neurodivergent professional can achieve. A conventional management where it's didactic is something that I would very much feel would be unlikely to see in a neurodivergent person because we have our own way of leading. When I give training to the team or when I answer the numerous messages that come through, help, can someone help me? This has gone wrong in a session. I can type something, I can think, this is where the student is, and also looking to take a step back and looking at things from a different angle rather than like, oh, you should know this. Obviously, if someone's new, we don't want that didactic, one rule, one mistake, you're out. We want people to be able to learn. If we're, making effective learning, we can then move forward. Universal design, I will mention this here, enabling the clear communication. So having in a meeting, a neurodivergent manager, for example, will be less likely to have any issues with captions being used. I have got an app here on my screen, the Caption Ed app, which is available on Access to Work and DSA. That is a very effective note-taking tool which can help people on the autism spectrum and those who have a hearing impairment as well. Also, recognizing how neurodivergent people may experience the world differently and making sure that the dynamic is there and you've got genuine interest. It is worth noting this guy here, Ed Thompson, has written a number of publications on Psychology Today. And so I would recommend him. A lot of my psychology students do like his work, and he has written a book, which is called A Hidden Force, Unlocking the Potential Neurodiversity at Work. I'm going to go back to my slides now. Um, so we're on number 6. So what gets labeled as scattered thinking meeting often mask an ability to manage multiple complex challenges simultaneously, a crucial skill in today's fast-paced workplace environments. And that can occur, in day to day. So, for example, I can be delivering a training session with a student, and one of my colleagues may get stuck. And also, I'm getting a colleague text me or saying, can you, for example, meet another student at another time? So I'm doing 3 things at once. That may seem very scattered, but actually we're dealing with the situation. We're moving things forward and we're portraying a good, positive impact on our customers. So as only when managers and colleagues alike engage with thoughtful and productive dialogue about each other's preferences that the true potential of the whole team can be unlocked. So in this case, if the manager is neurodivergent and one of their colleagues who they're managing is, trying to get to know them. So something that I did well, a couple of years ago now is I went on a team lunch to try and get to know everyone rather than, because we predominantly work online, having that ability to have that face-to-face meetup in Liverpool Street to get to know people. And then we brought out our team strengths, and we also had an escape room. That was nearly 2 years ago, and it was very effective. So we're looking at innovative leadership. So here, simply put, it's only when we engage in open, thoughtful, productive dialogue, can that be seen? And that was an example I was just giving. And then here, traditionally viewed as disadvantages in corporate environment, recent research highlights how neurodivergent thinking styles offer unique advantages in creative problem solving, strategic visioning, and quality-focused leadership. Neurodivergent leaders are also noted for their innovative approaches, ability to envision disruptive strategies, and intense commitment to excellence. Case studies illustrate how these leaders have driven significant organizational success by challenging conventional practices. So this bit here, so we can innovate. And, we have, through our Achievability Journal, we have helped to dispel some of the myths. I have, for example, as well, written a paper in the pandemic, so in 2020, about how to best support autistic university students. Obviously, COVID came along and I kind of led away by example. And, I was writing my master's and kind of still offering full-time, support to students at the same time. We can focus on, having a vision. So the vision for this project to develop our leadership skills, working together. So we all meet regularly. We look at things from different perspectives, always seeing the social model of disability lens. And, the next one here, adapting management practices. So you can't have like a didactic process where, it's one size fits all. Having that flexibility. If, for example, if an employee is more effective working from home and they can communicate using an online chat facility such as Click, which is this one here, I'm just going to hover my mouse over. Is it necessary for them to be in an office environment, having a meltdown, for example, or feeling overwhelmed? Well, no. If they're at home and doing the job, a neurotypical peer would see actually, but they're getting their work done if the neurodivergent manager has explained this is why we're doing it. But now more and more people are working remotely. So, you're not necessarily having to justify a need to make that change. But if a company is doing that and the employee is achieving success, that will then lead to them staying with the company. And then that in turn could drive, performance in the business landscape. And there is a quote on here that we can have a look at in your own time. There's another incident here. So in the United States, they have been having a look at developing an autism program. And the current statistics from HBR say that autism affects 1 in 42 boys and 1 in 189 girls, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. But there has been a lot of support in terms of these programs for autistic people. But now they're saying that they should also adapt for dyspraxia. I don't agree with their definition on here. Dyslexia, ADHD, social anxiety, and other conditions. America does tend to, in academic articles, use the term disorder, where in the UK, at university, we would say a learning difference. And we would say, developmental dyspraxia or developmental coordination disorder, to quote Professor Amanda Kirby, who is an advocate for neurodivergent people as well. Yeah, this here about having very good recognition or memory or maths. So, for example, if you've got someone working and you need to look over the figures, that would be a particular strength. So one more slide before I'm going to get people to go into breakout rooms. So this one here, developing the skills about neurodiversity, having some practical toolkits for managers and teams. Well, why would neurotypical people like this? Because these toolkits can be used if you're inducting an employee who's new to the company and you're not having an awareness of the condition, because not everyone is fully aware. This toolkit could be something to work through together, or as part of the induction, we can offer this support. So from day one, I'm working on a project at the moment about disability confident. And, this is something, when someone is new, they don't necessarily have to tell you exactly what condition they have if they don't want, but I feel this would be beneficial for me. If it's reasonable and access to work funded, I would say that that would be perfectly reasonable. Here, making that adjustment here. So Forbes are, again, well known for their perspectives. I'm just going to show you this before we move on to the breakout rooms. Okay, just going back into the Microsoft Edge. Okay, and then bear with. Yeah, so Forbes are often used in educational neurodiversity programs. So here, we do make up 15 to 20% of the global population, and we need to be advocating. And here, I mean, the figures for autism are low, but if the reasonable support is put into place and the neurodivergent leaders are developed, you can develop the advantages. And this report here from a positive statistic, 36% productivity and profitability. And obviously a company wants to ensure that they're doing well. Neurodiversity in women. So again, females on the autism spectrum, the diagnosis is still lower. But that could be because of not being able to access a diagnosis, and that in itself is a barrier. But again, there's some useful information. So what I'm going to get you to do now is I'm going to get Catherine to put everyone into breakout rooms. So there are 6 of us here. So we're going to have a discussion, and I'm going to say probably around sort of 5 to 10 minutes. Well, let's aim for 10. So my first question to think about, can you think about any neurodivergent leaders who inspire you? And then the second question is, what qualities do they have? And then what we'll do is we'll feed back. And then I've got 3 examples of neurodivergent leaders that I'm happy to discuss. So for now, I will stop the share and then get Catherine to put everyone into the breakout rooms.
Okay, then. Andrew, are you okay to go into a break?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, okay. So in fact, actually, because I have to stay outside the breakout room, we've got one breakout room with 2 people. Hi there.
Hey.
Hi.
Yeah.
It's always a bit of a strange experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very, very disembodied. I've been trying to text you, Dee. Well, on the chat, you know, it's not doesn't seem to be going through. So, I just to let you know, I got your message, Dee. Hi. Right. I think we've got everybody back, haven't we?
Yeah.
Let's not have Andrew feedback. Let's have other people feedback.
Yeah,
So,
so maybe Sadia then, because she was doing a fair amount of talking, and yeah, we can get her to do it.
okay, good.
Shall I go now or?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we had I was with Maddie, wasn't I? Maddie and Andrew. Yeah, so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just because my screen's a bit off. Yeah, Alicia. So actually, Alicia started off, and she said that Catherine, you are an inspirational neurodivergent leader for us, and for her in particular, because yeah, and then I went on to agree with her, and I gave my reasons. But Alicia, do you want to explain? Because I think it best come from you on what strengths you mentioned, because I mentioned something a bit different. So
yeah, I find Catherine's very inspiring. She has a lot of empathy and adaptability, and brings out the best in a person or situation. She's very supportive, um, thinking outside the box, making time for each individual, to then help and inspire others. And also, like, if there's any challenges, ways to navigate a situation, making things simple. You know, I don't know the actual neurodiversion, I would say, qualities that Catherine has, but definitely, you know, it's you know, because she never talks about herself as well. That's the other thing as well. So it'd be nice to know that as well. But yeah, I find you know, helping the community, supporting students, it's a big task when you think about the whole like scope of what Catherine takes on. It's a big task, and you know, it's she does it in a way that's like a swan.
My goodness, I am going to get very embarrassed.
Yeah, she does it like a grace, and yeah, it's very inspiring. Sometimes you can sit back, and when you're in a situation, you think, what will Catherine do, or what will Catherine say, or what would her advice be? You know, so it's very good, yeah, very motivational. And I don't know if you want to bring any more that I have missed.
So I was saying, just to follow on from that, in my experience, Catherine is like, she knows the neurodivergent mind and how it works. And I appreciate not every dyslexic person is the same as the other, but I feel as though you know, Catherine has that lived experience, and when it comes to us and our requests, or me individually, you know, when I've had a query or asked for help, she's automatically understood. I've never had to over explain. So the example I gave was of when I needed more time for my interview, and during the original interview, they'd given me 30 minutes to read about 15 pages, and then they expected me to remember everything I'd read and answer questions on it, and 30 minutes later. And you know, that was just not dyslexia friendly at all. And I reached out to Catherine, and you know, I appreciate it. You know, you automatically understood. I think everyone did, because I brought this up amongst after one of our group sessions, and I see that all the time. You know, over the last 5 years I've been involved with WFDA, that you know, you often show you know how our minds work, and you know what would work for a dyslexic person and what wouldn't. So yeah, that's and the incredible hard work. So just to bounce off what Alicia was saying, there's a lot of community work, a lot of care, lot of advocacy, and that's all seen and appreciated. I don't know any other neurodivergent leader. I honestly don't know. I was having a hard time, and then Alicia mentioned Catherine, and I said, "Oh yes, yes, that's the only leader I know."
Both of you also mentioned Heather as well.
Heather
Yes.
Simons.
Yeah.
So Andrew, do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, so when we were having the conversation, we were mentioning how obviously Heather has done some talks for the WFDA, and I know her from her many years within ADSHE, so which is now called PASHE, which we have to get used to the new name. I'm not a member anymore, but you know, she's very much advocating from the beginning and always a positive aspect on the ADHD lens. As well. And, you know, even in challenging times, she would stand her ground, whereas some people could easily be swayed, whereas a good leader would stick to their kind of their guns, as it was my late grandmother would say.
No, I can totally agree with you on that one, Andrew. Heather is very empathetic, and I think we're talking about neurodivergent leaders here who give a lot.
Yeah.
And Heather certainly does that. She is very empathetic, and she is always there to share and advise and share knowledge. And I've known Heather, must be about 25 years now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, we go back a long way. So does anybody have anything more to say? I mean, I gratefully accept your kind comments. I will say that. And it's very nice to get that feedback, actually. It doesn't often happen. Does anybody else have anything else to say about the quality of neurodivergent leaders? Because at the moment we've got empathetic, advocate, sharing, always willing to share, always having time at different levels. Anything else?
I would add that they're very thorough, and also my mind's gone blank now. And they always strive for clarity.
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Dee, are you still with us?
I'm still here. Yeah.
Oh, good, because I have been trying to send you a message on the chat, but it hasn't managed to get through. So I just want to say I've got your message, okay?
Yeah, I heard you earlier. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, then. Anybody else want to contribute, or should we go back to Andrew's presentation?
Just want to say, I think we're good leaders are innovative kind of go-getters. They'll come up with different ideas, different, I suppose, plans to do things. And they also, I think once they want to solve a problem, they're tenacious about it. They'll just stick their teeth in, their claws in, and they will just get to the bottom of it. So yeah, myself and Dee had different people, but yeah, we came up with some of these ideas.
Well, I think you brainstormed really well there.
Can I just add as well? I came up with Marcia Brissett Bailey, and I thought because I think she's very authentic. She speaks her truth. She speaks what she sees. She's kind of it's good as well to see a Black female in the arena, and I think she's really leading the way in that respect as well. And yeah, she works with the community. I've done things with her as well outside of this group, and she's been really useful and really helpful as well. Could say lots of things, but my brain's not working, so I can't think of them. But those are what I kind of came up with. Yeah.
So I think we're also saying integrity, aren't we? It's important to have integrity. And that's what you're saying, Dee.
Yeah, authentic and yeah.
Okay, well, I think that everybody contributes really well. So thank you, Andrew, for organising that. And are we going to go back to the presentation now?
Yeah, I will just reshare. Right, yeah. So So I've got three different examples of leadership. And the first person I've mentioned is Carol. So many moons ago, 25 years ago, Carol was my manager when I worked for Sainsbury's, openly neurodivergent. She mentioned her dyslexia. And one of her strengths was that she was very understanding of needs and very much about practical hands-on training for the job. So one of the things I remember, bearing in mind this was way back in 1999, so quite some time ago, her physically showing us how everything was done. So going around the Sainsbury's in the shop, weighing up the fruit and vegetables, having hands-on practice with the till, very much, development of individuals for their skills. So, for example, I trained to deal with all the refunds. She made a reasonable adjustment for me using an Excel spreadsheet to manage the inventory. Very empathetic. I was, also developed. I was able to supervise the tills. And one Saturday when she was away, I was left to look after 21 normal man tills back in those days, and the cigarette kiosk, which had 3 tills, and the customer service desk. And I was only in my sort of early 20s on a Saturday. So I was quite busy, but because she developed and very much a nurturing type of person, she'd inspired me. If I didn't want to go into education, I could easily have kind of got into a management role if I wanted to. And always being approachable, even like on a lunch break. There was something going on, you could go and have a chat with her, and always kind of being there. If you needed to change your shifts because they did flexi time, she would try and be accommodating. Obviously, sometimes like a Saturday, if you needed time off, giving that notice. But if something turned up and, it was a busy day and they had got enough staff, she would be very open-minded. Always being there. So she was there for about 80% of my time. And when she left, their department was an absolute shambles. She was a very good leader, and the person who took over didn't understand, and it was very clear. The next example, this is in my current sector. So I've given a case study here of David. So he's very empathetic towards neurodivergent needs. I have put the disability confident logo on here deliberately because one of his projects that he's asked me to work with our HR on is to make sure that we get the disability confident leadership status. So we will be providing, the reasonable adjustments that all disabled people need, providing they make that disclosure. And myself and HR are working on that together. He also provides autonomy, which helps facilitate the growth. So he doesn't always have to be in a meeting, but he can let me know. Obviously, we have 50% of the UK DSA market, which is quite a lot actually in terms of students, number of equipment ordered. I average about 30 sessions in a week, but we arrange things. He supported me through my own access to work journey at initial cost to the company before we got reimbursed. Not everyone would do that. So my desk and my chair were about a couple of £1,000. Not all companies would do that. Being available, having that conversation. And, he was also very good when my father passed away in April 2023, texting me, hope you're feeling, how are you feeling? If you need anything, please don't suffer in silence, blah, 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 blah. And not everyone would do that. A lot of people went very quiet. And an example there of a leader, strategic thinking style, which aids the retention. So when we moved from just one company and moving to the new company, actually explaining everything very clearly, having the visual diagrams, understanding that neurodivergent mindset. And then I've got another slide here. So I have put a case study of myself, and this is a picture from our advocate lunch with me and my Bichon Leo in the corner. I thought I'd get him in there somehow. So I am very good at kind of paying attention to detail. So when I'm seeing something that's going wrong with the team. So for example, if a piece of software isn't working, I will notice that someone has just clicked on the link where it says AOR code equals XXX, and they've forgotten to delete the X's and put the actual code in. I can generally be empathetic towards other people's needs. Indeed, I do provide training for our company on autism and dyslexia. I talk to people all the time. I'm making sure that the employee's voice is heard. So I'm not, when we were having this conversation with HR about disability confident, I'm not going to go back and tell HR everything is brilliant if things are not. And everyone is happy. One or two people we could make some slight adjustments, but that's fine. That's giving opportunities for progress, and those are very minor things. But I'm able to be contactable. I have had good feedback from my training, and actually people say, and unfortunately someone is leaving us, which I'm not happy about. But she said, "Oh, I appreciate that you're here on the chat every day if anyone needs anything." So I am quite caring. And then something that I kind of picked up on, so an example from Professor Baron Cohen, who's quite well known in autism circles. As many autistic individuals in particular excel at detail-orientated tasks and notice small inconsistencies that escape others, equipping them with an eye for unique solutions. So for example, when we first launched the app, I was finding, faults were there. And then before it actually was officially launched, I was checking things like the guides and making sure there weren't any typos, etc. Because when you're writing a 20-page document, it's quite easy. And if the word, is a standard word, a screen reader wouldn't necessarily, say it's wrong because it's still an effective word. So kind of just to come through to sort of summing up. So one of the key attributes that I thought of on my own, so we're often visual thinkers. So we like to use aids like mind mapping. Indeed, I've got 5 mind mapping tools on this computer. So Mind View, I've got Mind Manager, MindMeister, Notes, etc., which is a new one. We try and our best to demonstrate things in an alternative format. Many of us have very good organizational skills, being able to meet deadlines. And an example here for myself is, I managed to juggle writing a 15,000 word master dissertation while still working full time and grieving and meeting all the deadlines. I didn't get a single extension, and we can do it. A lot of us, like me, are very open-minded towards assistive technology, and I think now people really do need to embrace it. And I'm very much looking forward to Monday when I get my new Samsung S25 AI phone. And I'll be moving back to Vodafone. I'm quite happy about their attitude towards service. Teamworking skills, bringing people together to complete tasks, or generally when the person is conveying a genuine interest. So when I was looking at phone providers, Vodafone, I was a customer for them for numerous years, and then they put the price up and now they've gone down, but their people are actually understanding. My current provider are very robotic and I don't feel valued, and I can really feel that. So that's why I'm leaving them. People skills. So we can work with anyone. And this was something I mentioned to Catherine before we did this training. And I think it's really important. So working with anyone, from a cleaner up until a CEO. So before COVID, I used to work part-time in a university, and I always used to make a point of saying hello to the cleaner and, making sure that she felt valued. And she always made sure my room there, was very clean. On a Monday to Wednesday, the room was being used as a general room, but she made sure when I was there with my students, it was nice. There was no significant smells or anything in the room, and it was very workable. And likewise, being able to communicate with people higher up. So if anyone has any questions, we can discuss them now. And I've put my email address on there, and I will stop sharing. So does anyone have any questions?
Okay, anybody got any questions for Andrew? And thank you so much, Andrew. That was a really good presentation, and you put a lot of work into it too. And I really like the fact that we could go into links to see other information. That's your assistive technology background at play. So does anybody have any questions? Alicia?
Yes, I have a question, and it's with all the challenges that you mentioned, the death of your dear father, and the house that you was buying, and uni, what technology helped you with that? Or if you the reason why I asked is because you're very passionate about this assistive technology. I just wanted to know. Yeah.